It was the kind of assignment most journalists would pass on. A village that vanished decades ago, no GPS signal, no map reference, just a rumor buried in whispers. I was skeptical. How could an entire village just disappear? But something about the story pulled me in. I drove all night, following directions that made little sense. I finally arrived at the edge of the forest, where a rotting sign, barely legible in the fog, read, "Welcome to Devlin." The silence was unnatural. No birds, no rustling trees, just an empty street flanked by houses with boarded windows and doors. Everything looked frozen, like a ghost town suspended in time. As I made my way further, I saw the first sign of life. Old, tattered clothes and personal belongings scattered as if the people had left in a hurry. I began to investigate, snapping photos, making notes, but every time I looked back, I could swear the belongings had shifted slightly, as though someone had been there watching me and waiting. Night fell too quickly in Devlin. I had a sudden urge to leave, but something compelled me to stay. That's when I noticed the symbols. Scrawled in red paint on doors, walls and floors, they resembled a circle with a line through it, like an eye closed in slumber. The locals had called them the Watchers, beings that haunted those who dared stay past sunset. I didn't believe in legends, but something about those symbols felt unsettling. I went into one of the houses looking for clues. Dust coated every surface, yet the air felt thick as if it was alive. As I moved deeper into the house, I found a journal on the floor. The cover was cracked, the pages yellowed and fragile. Inside, someone had scrawled in frantic handwriting, "They come at night, the Watchers. They see everything. They see you." The last entry chilled me. If you're reading this, it's too late for you too. The whispers began around midnight. At first they were faint, like a distant hum, then louder, growing into murmurs that seemed to surround me. I tried to ignore them, but every time I moved, they followed. And then they called my name, Jacob. Jacob. I froze. No one here knew my name. My heart pounded as I turned toward the window. Outside, figures were gathering, dark shapes moving with unnatural stillness. Their faces were blurred, but their eyes glowed with a strange light. The Watchers! Panicked, I stumbled back, but when I turned around, one of the figures was in the room with me. A man, or what was left of him. His eyes were hollow, his mouth twisted in a silent scream. He wore an expression of pure agony as he reached out with a bony hand, touching my shoulder. A sudden wave of cold hit me, and I was overcome by a feeling of dread. I stumbled back, gasping. But he was gone. But the cold lingered, and I knew he had left something behind, a mark, a tether between me and them. Act 4, the final night. The next day I tried to leave, but every road out of the village led me back to the square. My car wouldn't start. The forest seemed to close in, as if the trees themselves wanted to trap me. As I wandered through the village, I found relics. Belongings of those who had disappeared, children's toys, a wedding ring, even a pair of glasses, shattered on the ground. Desperation gnawed at me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being herded. They wanted me to stay. And then I saw it, the ritual stone, a large flat stone in the center of the village square, covered in the same red symbols. At its base I found another journal. The handwriting different, but the words just as frantic. The ritual demands a soul. Without it, the curse will spread, consuming the land. But to escape, you must leave another in your place. I dropped the journal, horrified. I understood now. The village needed someone to stay behind, a soul to keep the Watchers at bay. And if I didn't replace myself, I would become one of them. Act 5, the choice. Night fell again, and I could feel them closing in, the Watchers circling me, waiting for my decision. My mind raced. Who could I bring here? Who could I trick into taking my place? A noise behind me made me turn. A figure stood there, Someone I recognized. My old friend who had gone missing years ago. The one whose disappearance had haunted me all these years. He looked at me, his face a mask of sorrow, and I realized he had been chosen too. In a moment of clarity, I saw my fate. There was no escape. I had to stay or condemn someone else to this torment. The whispers grew louder, surrounding me, urging me to choose. I tried to resist, but the pull was too strong. The watcher's cold eyes bore into me, and I knew my time had run out. Epilogue. A week later, another journalist arrived, drawn by the same curiosity. They found my journal and the words scrawled on the last page: "Do not stay, do not listen. If you hear them, run." The watchers had found a new soul to trap. The village remained cursed, waiting, always waiting.